What's up, guys? We are back and with a vengeance. This is Dice Squad, the only show that humans and orcs can both enjoy together. My name is Adam Campbell, and I am Marshall Dice.
And I'm Todd Evangelista, and I'm General Dice.
And episode 3, an epidemic for pandemic. Wow. So what we got today, General?
Well, we got one of my favorite games. One of my favorite games of all time. It's a cooperative game, and so that means everybody works together against the game, and everybody I've played it with just loves it. Most people, after they finish the first time, they want to play it again. So let's get right into it.
So we have Pandemic.
All right, and I have the expansion On the Brink right here. And I purchased them basically both at the same time. However, mine are the older versions. You can get newer versions, the new edition, at Target or wherever.
Or Recess Games.
And let's talk a little bit about the history of the game.
Well, actually, it was created by Z-Man Games, which was founded back in 1999 by Zev Schlesinger.
Yeah. He's a New Yorker, but he created Z-Man Games, and Z-Man Games publishes both Pandemic and On the Brink, and the In the Lab version, which I don't have. And he started his company back in 1999.
And what's interesting about that is that he was trying to bring a collectible card game, Shadow Fist, back into production, and that's what actually brought back Z-Man Games into the light.
That's interesting because I've never played Shadow Fist. You're more into collectible games than I am. Have you ever played it?
No, I have not. But that may be something we may cover in the future.
Yeah, they said they created a company just to bring it back into game. Now I know one thing that we did. The first game that they put out was Grave Robbers from Outer Space, with their new company Z-Man, and we played that. I don't know if you remember it. It's a game where you have all kinds of weird characters from alien science fiction slasher movies, and you put different props on them, like the axe and the shotgun or what have you, and then you can defend your own movie from attacks from other movies, and you're trying to make
okay, all right, now I guess.
Yeah,
all right.
The problem, it's a nice game. The problem with it is it's a little unbalanced. If you get really good characters first, you're gonna win, and the characters are given out randomly. So, but it's very fun. It's more of a fun game to find, like, oh, the cheerleader is coming at you with an axe or whatever, or she's defending against the janitor who's suddenly turned into a psycho killer.
It's your classic B-movie, man.
Or she's the
chainsaw cheerleaders from outer space.
The cheerleader has been taken over by an alien, and now she's going rogue. Things like that happen in that game, and it's fun, but it's not exactly the most strategic game I've ever played.
Right.
But that was their first one. They went on from there to make over 100 different games. What are some do you remember?
We have Endeavor, Ariyama, Pandemic. Actually, 2 versions now. There's the classic version. There's the 2003 13 edition. And there are two expansions with this. There's a contingency planner and the quarantine specialist.
Yeah, I think didn't they do Agricola too? I'm not sure. But anyway, Z-Man,
so.
Yeah, for sure. Also Tales of the Arabian Nights, which I also like. But anyhow, so that was Z-Man Games. They published it, but the designer is a man named Matt Leacock, and you may not know his name, but he has designed a number of great games. First of all, Pandemic. Then, before that, he had Roll Through the Ages, and that was up for an award in Essen, Germany, and didn't get it. Then Pandemic was up for the Game of the Year in Essen, and didn't get it. And then he did Forbidden Island, and that was up for an award at Essen, and didn't get it. So he had 3 nominations in 3 years at Essen, which was, pretty great. He now has Forbidden Desert, which is an excellent game. It's a Very difficult one, but the Forbidden Island, Forbidden Desert, and also Pandemic, all cooperative games. So let's talk a little bit about what a cooperative game is. Cooperative game means everybody plays together to beat the game. The game kind of runs its own self, and then you have to have some victory condition before the game times out or floods you with too many things.
So it's basically kind of like a video game where you're trying to beat the computer.
Right, but like Gauntlet, the 4 people against the game. You're working together. You have to put everything in order too, and sometimes you get a real chance to make a big play, and you've put together the puzzle just so. And that's what I like about Pandemic, and also that there's never any hurt feelings. Nobody's rooting for the diseases on this game.
Go blue, go red.
well, let's talk about that too. We have to talk about the theme. Now, obviously, if you know what Pandemic means, you have a clue about what the theme is. But the theme is that there are 4 different diseases, and they are spreading throughout the world. And you play members of the CDC who have to stop those diseases before they spread out of control. And
then it just gets game over, man. Game over.
Yes, there's a tipping point once it's reached that you try hard to come back from, but you may not be able to. But nobody's rooting for those diseases. Nobody's saying, "Oh, I feel sorry that I have to get rid of these diseases." No, everybody is on board. Beat those diseases.
That's actually not true, because then they came out with On the Brink. That came out with the bioterrorists.
Yeah, that bioterrorist is a tough one. Well, let's talk about how we play the game, and then we'll talk about the expansions.
All right.
Let's see. Well, I guess I should tell you how to play the game. First, you choose the roles, and this can be the medic, it can be the operations manager, generalist. That's
researcher,
an expansion. Researcher, sure.
Operations expert.
Scientist is an excellent one.
Troubleshooter.
Mm-hmm. And each one of these different roles has a different special power. Then you set up the board. You take the special cards and add them to the player cards. It'll tell you how many special cards to add, and maybe you want to do a little bit of jury rigging yourself and say, it was too hard, we're going to add some more special cards, we're going to take out some special cards to make it harder. You can choose that yourself. You shuffle these, you deal them out, a specific amount to how many players you have. Then you shuffle then you have to really stack that player's deck. You take however many epidemic cards you want, and you place them almost evenly throughout. And this is what really makes the game hard, is these epidemic cards. So if you want to have an easy game, you start with 4 epidemic cards. If you want to have a difficult game, you do 6. If you want to have a really hard game, you do 7. And these are going to come out randomly, but almost evenly distributed throughout your deck. Now, once everybody has their cards, the player's deck is built, you take the infection deck and you shuffle that. And remember, when we say these cards, the player's cards, the special cards have special powers. Like, for instance, an airlift. You can go anywhere on the board. Or you can take two cubes off the board automatically. You get to use them one time, they're special powers, that's it. The other cards all have a different city listed on them, and each city is different colors. So North America and Europe is blue, and the South America and Africa are yellow, Asia's red, and Middle East and is all black. And that is, if you want to make sure you pay attention to those colors too. The next thing after that's all sorted out, you take the infection deck and you take first 3 cards, and each one of those cards will have a different city, and then each of those cities is going to get 3 cubes. Each cube represents a certain population that has this disease. And so if you pull a card that says Baghdad, Baghdad is black, so you put 3 black cubes on it. San Francisco is blue, so you put 3 blue on there. And Jakarta, no, Jakarta's red, and that would be 3 cubes on that one. And all these different cities have that many. Then you do 3 more. 2 cubes each, and then you do 3 more, 1 cube each, and then you look at the board and you say, oh my God, the Middle East is blowing up. We got to get to the Middle East right away, and we got to calm that down.
To the Batmobile.
Because first you have 4 things that you can do, and the person who was sick most recently is the first player, which is kind of sick as it is. But then you can do 4 things. You can move. And there are several ways to move. You move 1 space along a line. You move research station to research station. You discard a card to move to that city, or you discard the card of the city that you're on. So you start on Atlanta, and if you have the Atlanta card, bam, you discard that. You can go anywhere in the world. And if you don't want to move, you can treat a disease. That means you remove 1 cube from the board and the city that you're in. You can cure a disease by taking 5 of the cards of same color, of the player cards that are same color, you discard them at a research station, you have a cure for that disease. If you want to build a research station, you have to discard the name of the required city in that city. So if you have Baghdad, that's a great one to have. You build a research station there. People can travel from Atlanta directly to the Middle East in 1 move. And if you're curing black, you're going to need to get to that research station, and Baghdad is connected to 6 other cities. Excellent choice. You can also exchange cards, but exchange cards is difficult. Both players have to be in the city that's listed on the card, and then they can take or give the card. And a lot of times that's the key to winning the game or not, because you have to cure all 4 colors of diseases before time runs out. Now, how can time run out? Time can run out because the player's deck has gone to the bottom and everything is out. And the other thing, when you're going through that player's deck, sometimes you're going to pick a card to put into your hand and it's going to be an epidemic. That is not something you want to see, but it's going to happen.
And then all hell breaks loose.
This is true, because there's an infection rate, and the infection rate will go up. And then you'll put the bottom card from the infection deck, and you put it on the top. And it says whatever city that city's going to get 3 cubes. And then you're going to shuffle all the cards that are in the discard area and put them back on top and draw to what the new infection rate is. So hopefully if it's the start of the game, you're only drawing 2. But here's the thing. Anytime you go to place a cube on a city and there are already 3 cubes on that city, instead of just getting a 4th cube, that city outbreaks. And every city that it's connected to gets a cube. And you get another outbreak meter. As if there are 8 outbreaks, you also lose. If you go to put a cube on a city and there are no cubes in your little tray, then if there's no more cubes there, sorry, you lose. And that is the balance of the game. And what's nice is you can rebalance one way or the other. If you're having too hard of a time, maybe take out an epidemic card. Maybe add a few more player special cards. What else are the special cards? What do they do?
You can create a research center anywhere.
Yeah, that's good.
The airlift.
Grant. Airlift is the best one. Oh, One Quiet Night. Instead of pulling cards to infect, you get to go around and you get no pull on that one. There's also commercial travel ban, where until the player who played that, you only pull 1 card, and that can really give you a little extra time to get things under control. All right, well, that's pretty much how you play the game. Let's talk about how we first encountered the game.
Well, I remember that I think this was the second game you had shown me. You showed me Bonanza first, which we'll talk about in future episodes. But
Yeah.
this game, I remember you said, "Hey, this is a great game. It's a team building game," and I'm like, "What is a team building game?" And you had shown me this game, and I was given a role, and you were given a role, and you said the object of the game is to cure the world, and I was like, "It's a pretty big job. How are we supposed to cure the world?" And then I think the first game we played, I think we lost.
Yeah, I think we didn't do it. It just cascaded the wrong way, and I remember it was a close game.
Oh, yeah.
Though we weren't that far off from winning, but it just didn't happen for us. But that's the thing. If you don't win that first game, a lot of times the people just say, "Load it up again. We're gonna try."
Well, I think what's nice about this game is the fact that it's a team building game. You're not out for each other. There's no like survival of the fittest. It's like we're here for one reason and one reason only.
Right, and nobody's going to have hurt feelings if they lose, and nobody's going to be just an absolute jerk and say, "Hey, I'm gonna screw everybody over."
I'm gonna be the one who's gonna save you all.
Yeah, so this is a good game for families too. That was our first. Now we played this a number of times. Who else did you introduce it to?
My family. I played it once. My family. They weren't too keen on it, but I said it was a team building game, and then as soon as I understood what was a team building game, they really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think before I played this one, I played Forbidden Island first, which he developed second, and it was just an easier version of this game, and I really enjoyed Forbidden Island. So people told me, well, if you really want to play the start of it, you got to play Pandemic. But of course, it was out of print at the time, and I waited until I got both Pandemic and the expansion On the Brink because everybody told me how great On the Brink was. And once I had the game finally, we could play it, and then we lost. But as you play, you develop certain strategies, and then you start winning. And then you say, okay, we're winning a lot. Let's put in another epidemic card. Let's put in another epidemic card. And the expansion does add a lot. We should talk about the expansion, too. This is On the Brink.
Yeah, we have here On the Brink, the first expansion here. Which delves into the bioterrorists, which then brings in the whole fact that there's now one person against everybody.
Right. Now,
it's kind of like a classic James Bond movie.
There are actually three games in there. First is the Virulent Strain, which makes each epidemic card have an extra power given to one of the diseases, and makes it harder for you to cure it, or makes it suddenly it'll start spreading again. If it's eradicated, then boom, it's back on the board. And a very nice expansion. I have never beaten it. The other one is the Mutation, which is it adds purple cubes, and once the mutation is on the board, it starts spreading. But in order to cure that one, now you have to cure 5 diseases. In order to cure that one, you have to have one of any 5 cards, but one of them has to have the city of the mutation in it, and it's tough because you're wasting 5 extra cards. So, and those cards are so important for movement, and they're so important for curing other diseases. It kind of just eats up your resources when you don't really need it to. Then the last one is the Bioterrorist, which is a secret player. He records his motions on the board, and no one knows where he is. But if you happen to accidentally go in the same city as he is, he gets captured and he loses a couple of turns. But he can come back strong after that, and he gets out again, and he starts spreading the
He starts
purple,
messing stuff up.
he starts spreading the purple disease around, and there's not as many of the purple cubes as there are of the other cubes, so you can easily run out of it. And that's what he's trying for, is he's trying to win the game. So he can actually, then you have different criteria. The bioterrorists and the diseases can win. The bioterrorists can lose and the players can lose, or the players can win and the bioterrorists can lose. So it can go a lot of different ways with that one. And again, that makes it 1 person versus 4. And how they get around that is the bioterrorist goes between each person's turn. So if the marshal here would go, then the bioterrorist, then I would go, then the bioterrorist, then the marshal, and then the bioterrorist. So he gets many more turns than everybody else, and his movements are limited. So I like that. I like that one. And you can, a lot of times you can get a kid who's just not into games. They will play that one role and love it.
You're going to be the bad guy. What's my job? You're just going to mess up the game. I can do that.
And also that expansion allows you to really fine-tune the game a lot more.
And I think the third expansion that you don't have or I don't have is In the Lab.
In the Lab, and it is for the new version of the game. I have the old version of the game. I haven't pulled the trigger on buying the new version of the game. So.
And that one you have teams that actually work against each other to cure the world.
Yeah, it's a lot more thematic. You are not just throwing in 5 cards or 4 cards if you're the scientist and saying, there, the disease is cured. You have to move the cubes along a track in order to say, okay, now I've done enough research on this disease, I can cure it. And it looks very good, and it adds a lot to it, so I'm for it. There's another version that we don't have that's called Pandemic the Cure. It is not out yet. We're thinking probably August 2015 it's going to come out, but it's Pandemic the Dice Game.
And they also have, there's also moved to the apps, iPhone and iPads. They also have Pandemic on iPods, iPhones.
All right, so I have found this is a good gateway game. If I'm going to show a person a game, this is one of the ones I will pull out.
Well, how did you first hear about it, General?
Well, I was in the game store, and it came out, and I said, wow, this would be a great game for my scientist friend. And I bought it, and I gave it to her, and she didn't do anything with it, and I never saw it again. And then it went out of print, but the reviews on it were so stellar. Everybody was telling me, buy it, buy it, buy it. And then I tried to buy it. It was always out of print. From 2008 to when it first came out to about when it appeared on tabletop last year, it was constantly in and out of print, in and out of print. And only now that they have the new edition has it successfully stayed in print, and you can actually expect to get it at a store. But the first time I played it, I loved it, so I was great with it. Oh, let's talk about components. We should talk about components. First of all, I can't speak to the new edition. But the map that they give you, while it teaches you the different cities and how they connect, I think it's rather an ugly map. It's dark. I guess it captures the mood.
It's a solid game board. It's not like they give you like a paper mat where you have to put.
No, it is solid. But also, I've found that it scratches easily too. So if you have a chance to get the old version or the new version, I would recommend the new version. Also, I'd recommend you sleeve your cards. Especially the infection cards, they have black borders that can be a little bit easy to mar. I think they've gotten the size of the player tokens to the right size now. Originally they were giant sized. They looked like Godzilla attacking Tokyo. And now they look like they're regular people walking around the board. Now alright, well, you know what we should talk about too is improvements we'd like to see.
Alright. Well, you guys said you wanted a more lighter board.
Now, I don't know. I would like a clearer, easier to see board, and I play the game so much I want it to be sturdy. But that would be a good improvement. But I think improvements in gameplay. This guy Matt Leacock is a genius on his mechanisms that he uses for his games, and I would like to see some maybe more improvements on. Hey, let's get some more rolls. Maybe perhaps different from Virulent Strain, but maybe a new expansion. How about that? Or different roles for certain. You can easily do that. And some of the roles in on the Brink expansion, they're not really balanced. The generalist and the epidemiologist are not so great, and it seems like he could balance that out. I'd like to see that go on. I'd like to see maybe a sixth disease that would go, but overall, I'm very happy with this game.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, what would you give it?
Well, I don't like to give out 10s, that's for sure, but at least a 9. I would say it's probably my third favorite game. So definitely 9, 9.5 maybe. And that means that I will play it anytime. I'll own it. I'll trick it out, and I'll play it anytime.
I've only played it a few times myself with my family, and
Yeah.
so I would give it a 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah. And also, didn't we play with one of your friends who thought they wanted to attack us with the diseases or something?
That was that was my friend Mike.
Yeah.
He may be on the show in a few episodes or so. We can talk about that.
I didn't want to.
I'm winning. We're helping you.
I'm gonna beat you guys. We're all gonna win or we're all gonna lose. I attack.
How do I kill you guys? You don't kill us. We're teammates.
So, but very good. Now let's talk about what we're gonna do next.
Next, well, we're gonna start. We're gonna do some farming, I think.
Yeah, some bean farming.
Bean farming. We're gonna do some Bonanza.
Bonanza,
next.
one of our favorite games too.
Well, like all board games, we got to put this one away. But we'll see you next time here on Dice Squad. This is Adam Campbell, Marshall Dice.
This is Todd Evangelista, General Dice.
And we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.